Hello and welcome to another episode of Liberty Bytes. If this episode already sounds a little bit different to you, it's for good reason. It's because I am not William Gadsden. William is busy, preoccupied, taking care of some other stuff, and until he's back, we're going to be doing a bit of a rotation to fill in for him. On this episode, it'll be me, Vinny Marshall. On the next, it may be me again, or Killian. We're just not exactly sure yet. Whoever it is, rest assured we're going to do our best not to suck, although we make no guarantees. Now, as always, Liberty Bytes is a part of the Think Liberty podcast network, which you can find on basically any medium these days that hosts podcast content. Be that Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Overcast, or anything like that, we're on it. And if there's a platform that you listen to and you can't find us on, let us know. We are aware that we're not showing up on Podbean. We're going to try our best to fix that. Until it's taken care of, just sit tight. With everything going on in the news right now, I mean, it's pretty insane, right? Pipe bombs being sent in the mail, shootings at synagogues. Stuff's a little crazy, a bit out of control. You've got Maxine Waters on the left calling for people to harass one another, and you've got Trump on the other side, mentioning how it probably helped his case that Greg Gianforte from Montana during the special election basically chokeslammed a reporter. Not like kind of chokeslammed, like I'm pretty sure it was like WWE style Undertaker, The Rock chokeslam. And now, I don't claim to know everything, but I do feel pretty confident in saying that this is probably not the direction that we want to go in. And I think it's tough for some people. I think that sometimes people look at political violence and they see it as a faster solution, right? Like almost as if violence is an extension of politics, right? As if violence is what happens when political communications break down. And there aren't a lot of other options. Now, I personally take a really big issue with this. I'm not a fan of political violence at all, in any way, shape, or form. And I do feel like a lot of the political violence and a lot of the tension that's coming from the country as a whole right now is there in part due to the extreme political opinions being espoused by individuals, some of them in power politically here in the States and some not. I don't happen to believe that we are on the edge of a civil war or anything along those lines, but I do think that it's really easy for people to get carried away when they feel entitled and they have extreme opinions. And I just wanted to take a moment to point out that there, in my opinion, is a difference between extreme opinions and radical opinions. Now, if you stick to the dictionary, they're slightly the same thing, at least in certain definitions that are used. It can almost be interchangeable between radical and extreme, but I don't think that's necessarily the case in this situation. So you're talking about politics, and a lot of times, and especially when you're talking about libertarian politics, the positions held are going to be radical as compared to what people are used to. But I'm also a firm believer that things can be radical while at the same time being pragmatic. You see, compared to the systems that we have now, tons of libertarian ideas are pretty radical in and of themselves. I mean, have you ever tried to have a conversation with someone about why public schools may not be the best idea? It's pretty rough, and people certainly look at you as if you were extreme when you're having those discussions. Proposing the idea to do away with public schools is a radical idea. It's extreme in how much different it is from what we have today. But there are intelligent and strategic ways to have these discussions without resulting to extreme discourse. Radical is trying to convince people that different answers exist, answers that are different from the ones that they're used to dealing with for their entire lives. Extreme is losing patience when these talks break down, and instead of walking through it and having the patience that it takes to understand the other side and find middle ground, the extreme position will result to violence or discourse laced with pejoratives, asserting superiority while berating the opposing part of the discussion. The extreme position here is great if your goal is to get things as tense and as rigid as possible as quickly as you can. If we want real change, people have to believe in it. To just simply force your will is to create enemies. So in this time of high political tensions, try and remember that a little bit of patience goes a long way. And just because your opinions are radical doesn't always mean they have to be extreme. Thanks for listening, and someone will be talking to you next week.